Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Cynthia. How are you?
I am so good. Actually, I'm kind of on a high today because something really magical happened this morning, that really pertains to like what we're going to chat about. And so excited to share that with
Oh, you
you.
tell me.
Dive right in. Okay. I met with a local fabric and wallpaper company,
Yes.
and the person who runs it has tons of experience in the interior design industry, which is kind of like the direction that I want to go in.
Yeah.
And she's basically kind of going to take me under her wing and have me develop my first collection.
Oh my
um
goodness.
yeah, so this was like my long goal, and it's
Yes.
actually I'm just getting to like jump start it because I was planning on doing this. In the end, I just thought I had to take a different route to get there. And so
Yeah.
it's super exciting. Like,
Oh my
she's amazing,
gosh.
has over 20 years of experience. And so yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. And it's funny because as I was preparing to talk with you, the thing that I have always struggled with, and I've always, kind of admired you for this, is just like kind of sticking to that long, like, what is the long vision, and like really being able to picture it. Cause I think sometimes it's really hard. Like,
Yeah.
and and then also realizing it's going to take time, and had like finding joy in that process. And so it's been this, like, it's almost like a sculpture for me, where I feel like I've been sculpting at it for all these years. And yeah, so I'm just so excited to talk to you about it.
That's beautiful, Cynthia. What a fun
um
day.
yeah, yeah, it's I get to talk to you. And I got to have that meeting, which was incredible. What was the other thing I wanted to share? Oh, to prepare for this, I checked to see when I started following you. So I was searching my email. I know I'm bad. I keep like
Oh,
all
fun.
my emails. And I searched Going Home to Roost, and I guess I subscribed in like 2015 for
Oh my goodness.
yeah. So I got a secrets or something, and yeah, that was what got me. So I've been following along for all
Oh,
these years and gleaning
I would
like so
love to
much
see that.
wisdom.
You should send me that
I'll forward
email.
it
I
to
would
you.
love to see it.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I yeah, just want to dive into all the things that have to do with, I think for some people it's really easy to see someone and say, okay, they have success, they built this thing, but then you really like don't know how to bridge the gap between where you were and how to get there. And I think, so like I said, 2015 is when I found you. I started my business in 2013. And it's been like, I would say the last 2 years that I've really been doing things. Like, I've been showing up every day, doing the work that I feel like I'm meant to be doing. But it
Mhm.
took me that long.
Yeah.
And so I think I would just love to hear about, like, how do you handle that, and like what are your thoughts behind it? And I know there's so many people who want to do a creative career, but they're not sure how to like actually picture themselves in that
Yeah.
role. And yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. So, I am a big believer in ridiculously big goals, mainly because I had my biggest goal come true of becoming a fabric designer back in 2012 for the first time. And when I set out with that goal, I could not have been further away from, what I wanted. I wasn't an artist. I didn't have an online presence, a business. I didn't know anything. And so having that come true just taught me so much, made me believe in myself, made me believe in other people because we are truly so capable of so much. But we have to have the ability to bring clarity to not only what we want, but how to get what we want. And so I am a big advocate for really big, I call them stretch goals. And stretch goals mean that if they're going to come true, they're going to require all hands on deck. They're going to require immense focus and dedication, and they might not come true, but they are within the realm of possibility. And then I like to kind of step away from that. I like to have clarity over the end goal, but I personally am one to get lost in the weeds. Meaning, once I've established the goal, I will get so overwhelmed by not knowing how I'm going to get there that it'll halt me in my tracks. Like I won't be able to make progress. And so the kind of key to unlocking that for me is to get clear on the goal and then put my focus to right in front of me. What is just the one thing? Like, what is just the very next thing I could do to inch me there?
Hmm.
Because I don't even like 5-year goals because I don't know how long it's going to take me to get there. And I don't stress over the timeline so much as the consistency. And it's in the
Hmm.
consistency that things progress and goals are met. You know, research actually shows that the more specific and difficult the goal is, the higher that you'll perform, like the more motivated you'll be and the higher level of performance you'll actually have. And so there's something for clarity on that goal, meaning I see a lot of people set really big goals that aren't clear enough. They'll be like, I want to empower female entrepreneurs to live their best life. And like that's great, but it's more of a why. It's not a
Hmm.
goal, meaning it's really difficult to check a box when you accomplish it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Mhm.
So a goal is like sign a licensing contract or make $100,000. Like a goal is something you can check when you've accomplished it. And all the fluffier stuff can go into like your why, like why you're called to do what you do. But goals should be clear and like time bound and able to check a box when you accomplish it. And then we just break them down by doing just the very next thing. Cause I think we all know of like something we could do to start chipping away at making progress towards the goal. And then you just do that over and over and over and over again.
I think it can be scary to even set the goal because, like, we're scared of, well, speaking for myself, I can be scared of failing. And I think it's been through lots of like consistently showing up and hearing these things and like believing in myself and the mindset work that goes into it has been really helpful for me.
You know what I do with that? Because you're right. This is where a lot of us get stuck. But it's done when we are afraid to set the goal because we're afraid of failure. There's one more thing we really have to do, and that's some very careful thinking. And we need to really, really play out in our minds the three different scenarios. So I go after this, I try as hard as I can, and I fail. What does that look like? What does it feel like? Are you okay? Is your family okay? Will you survive? You go after this as hard as you can and you succeed. What does that look like? Like, are you okay? What does it feel like to succeed? Are you even willing to wrap your mind around the possibility that you will succeed? Do you believe in yourself? And then the third one is, what if I don't even try? What
Mm.
if I don't change anything? What if I don't try? How will I feel in a year? And you know, sometimes there will be people who say, I'll be fine. And so, okay, we need a bigger and better goal. But we really have to play out those three things because then all of the sudden trying and failing is actually not the worst case scenario.
That's such a good point. I don't know. I think that I had to do some research and figure out that like most of the successful people I know had also failed so hard before. So I'm like, okay, this isn't, this isn't, it's everyone kind of has to go through this, or not everyone, but it's part of the process. And
Part of the process.
yeah,
Yeah.
I also, I think that, what I hear a lot are that people are scared because of like the financial situation. And the funny thing to me about this is like when I was in a career full time and I didn't have the freedom that I have now, I ended up getting pay cuts when the economy went like when it crashed in 2009. And that
Yeah.
was that was super scary because I already probably wasn't making what I should have been at the time. And then because of the economy, I had no control over my income. So I feel
Yeah.
like in some ways you almost have more control over your income.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
At least it's up to you. Like, I think If someone has a regular job and they're not super happy in it, like think about having to be confined to what you're being paid, and then it's up to you to ask for raises, and then it's up for you to ask for time off. And what if you just took that all away and you were in charge? And there's more weight on your shoulders, there's more responsibility on your shoulders, but at the end of the day, you get to call all of the shots, and it builds in so much freedom. So much freedom.
Right. That kind of segues nicely into what I wanted to talk about with motherhood.
Yeah.
Um, because I knew when I was at my full-time job, so like I left in 2013. I at that point had not even met my husband, and was feeling like a little deflated because I thought I'm not where I want to be in my life, and I wanted to have kids, and I knew I did, and I just kept picturing like how's this gonna play out with me having this job with kids, and I just knew I
Yeah.
needed more freedom. So um I was just making those decisions to switch over. But I feel like even now that I have two kids, a 1-year-old and a 4-year-old, I feel like people wonder like how am I doing it? But again, I think I have flexibility and kind of control over how much I put towards work versus like the family and the balance. But
Yeah.
also know that, I've had people like you that have kind of paved the way beforehand that I could model and learn from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So I have two children. They're now 7 and 9. So it's a little bit easier, but I was very much doing so when my kids were like 2 and 4. My husband still had a regular like 9 to 5 job. So I was very much working in nap time. And I sort of remember those years as like really beautiful, but also just kind of keeping my head above water from a business perspective, like I wasn't innovating. Like I was
yeah.
just maintaining for a couple of years there. But whether we're speaking to people who have young children or not, almost everyone has something. So they're a student, they have school, or they have a day job, or they are taking care of, like, they're a caretaker for someone else, or they've got their own maybe chronic illness. Like almost everyone has something that affects their ability to fully focus or put all the time in the world onto something. And it's just overcomable, all of those things, because again, we're not in a race, right? Like it's
Hmm.
just a consistent progress. And so, really, all I ever want to see people do is create a habit of approaching the progress, because successful people only get there by way of consistent action. There's the only way. The only way to success is by taking consistent action. And so it's just a habit. And I like to say, even if it's 15 minutes a day, like 15 minutes a day, we all have. We're just doing something else with it, right? I would
Hmm.
argue that we all have an hour. We're just doing something else with it. And so it's
Instagram.
priorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's priorities. Is this important enough for you to make time for? And
Hmm.
if so, you will. But even 15 minutes a day adds up to over 90 hours in a year, which you can make so much progress over the course of 90 hours. And so it's just that habit of consistently approaching and not feeling that barrier to entry for consistent progress.
I feel like when I took your focus to flourish, and I'm sure you kind of have that embedded into the immersion course as well, but when I took that, it really changed the way that I scheduled my week. And it did make a huge difference. These little things that like I don't even, sometimes I don't realize how much of an impact you have made by just following along and like implementing these things,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
fun to like look at it hindsight, but for sure that has made a big
Mhm.
impact in my work. And because I started out doing certain types of work for businesses, and then I had to teach myself how to attract a different type of business, and also more work that I felt aligned to do with surface pattern design or fine art. And it's not like a flip switch. I had to kind of like chip away at it. And so yeah, having that help from you and guidance has been really pivotal. So thank
Mhm.
you for that.
There's a whole bunch. I actually, goodness, I haven't thought about this in a while, but I would not say that I steward my time well until I had children. And I started just kind of obsessing over time management hacks because after 6 months, I was actually feeling like I was accomplishing around the same as I always had, but on a strictly limited time, like nap time. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, I must have been wasting a lot of time. And then I got to look at like my behavior and how we do kind of just get into these, you know, senseless loops of like checking things and getting distracted and coming in and going out. And so I really learned how to focus. And that's where this little class, which is free that you're talking about, came
Mm-hmm.
out, where all the little hacks that you can do, like batch working and setting yourself up for success and working when your motivation is at its highest. And you can really crank out some great work in a very small amount of time if you just learn how to hone that skill.
Yeah, also like the celebrating the little milestones. I feel like that's something that you kind of
Yes.
shared, and I get really excited about that. 'Cause like recently, I just won't pause enough to celebrate the things that I accomplish.
Every entrepreneur has that in problem. We just barrel roll through to the next thing.
It makes me like more aware. Okay, I'm actually doing something here. I'm moving the needle forward, and then
Yes.
also just like deserve, like showing that I deserve it, giving myself a little something. It's just
Yeah.
nice.
So what I love to do is set a goal because part of becoming an entrepreneur or going after a goal is that all of a sudden you answer to yourself only.
Hmm.
Like you don't have anybody else telling you. And that takes a little bit of like maturity to be able to set a deadline to yourself and then be motivated to stick to it. And so one way that I do that is to set a deadline and then I decide on what the reward will be as if I meet the deadline. And
Hmm.
so it depends on how big of a deadline it is. Like, I've done everything from like ice cream and maybe going out to my favorite restaurant to like going shopping or buying something that I've wanted, or a tool for like a new camera was a big one that I did a couple of years ago. And that was built in as a reward for meeting a big deadline or a big goal. And it does just make you pause long enough to celebrate that you are doing stuff, you are making progress.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was just thinking about something related to that, but it slipped my mind. There was another thing I wanted to ask you about while I had you, as we're getting closer to running
Yeah.
out of time. So, one of the things that it has kind of come up for me over the last couple of years is just like knowing when something's like a heck yes or a heck no, and
Yeah.
like following my intuition with that. And I wondered if you could share at all, like
Mm.
how you feel about that, and like what are some ways that you
Yeah.
um, follow your intuition.
I think at the beginning, I was probably a yes girl. Like just anytime something came my way, I said yes because I was just trying to get my name out there, get wind under my wings. Um, Said yes to a lot of things that, Lisa Jacobs, who's on my team, she always says, "Is the juice worth the squeeze?" And, I probably did some things where the juice really wasn't worth the squeeze, but it was just kind of like that hustle early time. And then I kind of became a no girl, like really trying to think about, well, every time I say yes, what am I saying no to? And that helped me decide on what to say yes to, meaning only saying yes to the things that would really move the needle for the things that I wanted to move the needle on. But yeah, there's the saying like, if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no. And that's clarifying because you know it. You know
Hmm.
if it's a heck yes. There's not even a second thought. You're like, I'm there. And so if there is some wavering and some debating and some, I don't know if the juice is worth the squeeze, then it's probably should be a no.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think that this is what adds to overwhelm and like that burnt out. You'll hear creatives or entrepreneurs use that phrase burnt out. And I think almost every time someone says they're burned out, it's by way of saying yes to too many things.
Oh yeah. I've been there. I could be there now. No, I'm actually in a pretty good spot of learning to follow my intuition.
Yeah.
Just knowing if something doesn't feel right, you can
Yeah.
feel it right away. But I was thinking about how I found this notebook. I think I might have shared this with you, but I'm not sure. I found this notebook like about a month or two ago that had scribbled in the margins, I want to learn how to create a seamless pattern for wallpaper design. And it was like 10 years ago, and I didn't do anything with it for, it was just an idea I had. I might probably search something, and then I stumbled across it, and it just kind of, it warmed my heart because I'm like, oh look, I was thinking about it then, but I actually didn't even take immersion until 2019. And that's like, all that time in between, I could have been, said yes to the right thing. So it's just
Mm.
interesting to see how the time pans out, and how if you do follow your heart, it's like you end up closer to where you want to go.
I love that. That's so true because we do often know. And sometimes, I think creatives in particular, sometimes we're really proud of how scrappy we are or like how how we can piecemeal things together. And while it is a good skill to have, I also think that it's one of our biggest plagues because we won't do the thing we know we need to do to release a bottleneck. Like we
Mhm.
are scrapping together multiple applications or technologies or strategies. And really, there's one thing that could, like, it's kind of this concept of how valuable is your time? Like, I view time as a sense of currency. And
Mhm.
so, if there's something that I can do that will diminish the time that it takes, then that means I get more time with my children and doing the things that I really love and that I can only do. So, I did have a big transition somewhere in the last several years over like identifying the thing that will be the most proficient or efficient for us. And then absolutely, it's a heck yes.
Thank you for sharing that. Um, I think that's pretty much all I wanted to chat about. So, I am loving getting to be in the mastermind, which I don't know if I'm allowed to share this
Of
in the.
course you are.
Okay, yeah, I have really kept it kind of secret because
Oh,
it's been a goal of mine for years, and
wow.
it just feels like I listening to everyone and learning all these just I feel like I'm in a room full of people who actually think like me in some ways, and
Yes.
that is like really comforting.
Isn't it amazing?
It's so amazing. And yeah, I can't wait for the retreat and all the good things to come.
Me too.
So thank you so much, Bonnie.
Thank you for having me, Cynthia. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye.